I know it was one of the better problems that I've seen since I've been here for the last 15 years. Everybody looked like they had a great time and made some good choices. So what we're doing, we have two speakers for you to listen to. Every time we're on graduation time, we like to have a couple of speakers in and talk to you about graduation season, making good choices during graduation season. Because sometimes everyone needs to be reminded about making good choices because things happen. Sometimes we don't all make the right choice and there's some serious consequences that come with that. To you, that person making that maybe wrong choice, bad choice, not thinking about it a little bit, your family, your friends, and it's an effort to help you realize that the choices you make, not just now, but the rest of your life, impact not only you, but a lot of people, and really works towards your success in life, not only as a future citizen of the country, okay, but our country as a whole, okay? A lot of things happen that was just from one little incident, and we want you to be as successful as possible. So this morning, we have two speakers for you to listen to. Ms. Tammy Wong from the Rap Association. RAP stands for Washington Regional Alcohol Program. Also, we're going to have Detective Beth Cable from the Fairfax County Police Department. She is an accident reconstruction expert from the department called Crash, believe it or not. And she's going to show you and talk to you about some of the consequences of some inappropriate or bad choices that people have made over time because of DUIs or speed, whatever it is. Now, and she'll go over that with you. Now, in these presentations, there are going to be some graphic, very graphic material being shown. If you have a problem with watching some of these graphic materials of people being hurt, you need to walk to your teacher, tell your teacher it's not embarrassing to go ahead and do that, and it can impact people in different ways. Tell them you're having a problem. And we'll walk you outside. If you need a counselor, we'll have counseling available for you to talk you through it. But the seriousness of the consequences that you're going to see, are fatal in most cases. So with that, I want to introduce you to Ms. Tammy Wong from the Rap Association.
And liquor at 80 proof, 4% alcohol concentration. How many ounces is it in each? So given the concentration for beer, 5% alcohol concentration is 12 ounces. That is one drink. For wine at 12% alcohol concentration, it is 5 ounces. For liquor at 80 proof or 40% alcohol concentration, it is 1.5 ounces. So that amount of alcohol, that amount of ounces, all equal a standard drink. Now, I say here, all drinks are now pretty equal. Why is that? Well, given this, beers come in different concentrations. Drinks can come in different concentrations, right? So you can have a beer, a German beer, take for example, German beer versus American beer. German beer usually has a higher concentration, usually around 7%, versus American beer at 5%. Even though you have 12 ounces of each, it makes them different. So that's why drinks are not different. So why do people drink? Different reasons. Amongst you guys, peer pressure is a big thing. Say, for example, you're at a party, maybe all your friends are drinking, maybe they're going to try to make you drink. Or maybe they feel like it. Maybe they're sad. Maybe they're depressed. Maybe they had a tough time and think drinking will help solve problems. When in fact, drinking doesn't solve problems. It makes them worse. So everyone has their own different reason. It's not all up here, but you just think, look, some of them are. Now, alcohol. Why does alcohol affect people differently? Gender, weight, quantity, tolerance, food eating, medications taken, your state of mind. Are you happy? Are you angry? Are you sad? All of these affect how alcohol affects a person. Now, the 3 specific reasons why alcohol affects women differently than does men. First reason why, alcohol dehydrogenase. What that is the enzyme found in most men's stomachs. Not women's stomachs, but men's stomachs that breaks down alcohol. That's the first reason why. Our second reason is fat. Biologically speaking, women have more fat than men. Fat versus muscle cells. Muscle cells have water. Water dilutes the alcohol a little bit, right? So that's the second reason. Our third and last reason, emotions, hormones. Women go through these emotional hormonal changes every single month. That affects how alcohol affects them. So, those are 3 reasons why. Let's move on to our spectrum of drinking. We have casual, moderate, abuser, addiction, a casual drinker. Casual drinkers are defined as this. A casual drinker is someone who drinks once in a while, not often. Say, for example, it's a special occasion. It is New Year's Eve. I have a glass of champagne. I won't drink until the next New Year's Eve, right? So it's not often. Maybe they'll drink somewhere in between, a birthday party, something. But it's a controlled amount, and it's not often. Then your moderate drinker. Moderate drinker is defined as a person who drinks the standard drink. Remember, we define that. They drink more often. They get to drink once a week, twice a week, every month. Maybe every other week. Maybe every single day they can have a glass of wine with dinner every night, right? But again, it's a controlled amount. Not saying you drink a whole bottle for dinner. That's not controlled. We're going to drink 8 glasses. Or you're made to drink 2 glasses. And then we move on. Those who do not control how much they drink, they're considered abusers. Abusers drink to an excess. Take, for example, a heavy drinker. Heavy drinker is defined as a man who drinks more than 2 drinks and a woman who drinks more than 1 drink. That's a heavy drinker. Then we have our binge drinker. Binge drinker is defined as a man who drinks more than 5 drinks for 2 hours and a woman who drinks more than 4 drinks for 2 hours. That's a binge drinker. Now, because alcohol is a drug, it can lead to addiction. So the more people drink, the more they use alcohol, the more it turns into a problem, right? Start getting addicted to it. They can't help but drink. So they drink more and more and more. Now here's the thing about addiction. People who are addicted to alcohol or drugs in any kind, they're everyday people like us. They could drive cars, they could go to school, they could go to work, they could operate heavy machinery. But rather than doing these things sober, they're constantly drinking. They're constantly under influence. So they're driving cars under influence. They're, going to school maybe under influence, going to work under influence. So they're never sober. So you think about the problems. People who are addicted to alcohol, not only are they affecting themselves every single day, but because they leave their house, so they do things that could affect the people around them, could lead to injury, could lead to death, car crashes. What about injuries? What about drunk drivers? What about people who walk while under influence, get hit by a bus, right? That's addiction. Now let's look at medication. There are a lot of medications on this list. I don't expect you to memorize. I don't want you to memorize them. But take, for example, medications in general. You mix with alcohol, it creates a lot of problems. Take, for example, your allergy medicine, your Benadryl, your Claritin. You mix with alcohol, it creates a lot of problems. It can lead to drowsiness, dizziness, increased risk for overdose. Take another example. Your natural remedies, not just prescription medications, not just over-the-counter medications. What about those that are considered natural? You mix with alcohol, can lead to sleepiness, dizziness, slow breathing, heart problems, memory problems. The list goes on. So true or false? Alcohol kills 6 times more young people than illicit drugs combined. True, it is true. Reason why is alcohol availability. Maybe your parents have a liquor cabinet. Maybe your parents have a wine cabinet. Maybe you have older siblings. Fact is, you can get alcohol anywhere. Go out to the corner store, pick the 6-pack. It's available. It's accessible. It is cheap. That leads to a lot of overuse. Leads to a lot of overuse. Abuse. Leads to a lot of overdosing. Oftentimes, or not, young people overdose on alcohol. How do you know it? Before you know, they're in the hospital with alcohol poisoning. They drink so much they're dying. No, it affects a lot of young people. That's why it kills more young people than illicit drugs. It's cheaper again, and it's easier to get. Now, effective drinking, short-term effects. Short-term effects include distorted vision, hearing problems, coordination problems, altered perceptions, emotions, impaired judgment, bad breath, hangover. Long-term effects, your brain. Your brain controls everything you do, right? The way you walk, talk, eat, sleep, move around. If your brain is affected, all those things are affected, right? Your heart, drinking causes a large heart, causes heart palpitations, abnormal heart rhythm, high blood pressure. Your stomach, drinking causes stomach problems, ulcers, bleeding. Not only are you also putting it as a calories, but it can lead to weight gain, right? Fat gain. Liver, drinking causes liver damage, failure, cirrhosis, cancer, hepatitis. And last but not least, reproductive system. Everyone's affected, whether you're male or female, does not matter. Now, what's so dangerous? Convicted murders, big thing. What about unintentional injury? I'm sure you guys have heard stories, I've heard a lot of stories in college. House parties gone wrong. Someone decides to do something foolish while drunk, and they end up in the hospital. Broken bones, injury, death. What about drunk driving? We hear a lot about this, right? Drunk driving at the prom. All these things, unintentional injury. Suicide, domestic violence, robberies, aggravated assaults, drownings, all of these are dangerous things. People may not notice it, but it happens around you all the time. Now, true or false? A blackout is the same as passing out. False. A blackout is when you're awake, you're active during a period of time, but you don't remember anything. What we compare that to is a concussion. So take, for example, football players. Get the concussion, blacks out, let's say for 5 seconds, right? 5 seconds, they don't remember anything that happens. Same thing. You can drink and you can black out for 5 seconds, 2 hours. It doesn't matter, more or less. Time can escape you, right? So for that amount of time, they don't remember what happened. They drink too much, they black out, they don't have memory, right? So what happens is your brain cells die, memory associated with the brain cells die also. That's why people don't remember. And then passing out. Passing out, you cannot be awake and you're unconscious. So, risky behaviors, alcohol poisoning. You ever see someone drink so much they just vomit everywhere? Yeah, alcohol poisoning. You introduce your body to poison alcohol, your body needs to get rid of it quickly. Usually that is by vomiting, right? Also, other things include glue in the face, sickly color, right? It also leads to unprotected sex, unwanted pregnancies, STDs, HIV, AIDS. Right? 74% of female college are reported having sexually assaulted under the influence of alcohol. That is raised every 2 minutes. This does not include those who black out. Does not include those who do not report it. Because when you black out, you don't remember what happens, right? Anything can happen. Now we're going to watch 3 short videos. Again, these videos include disturbing images, graphic images. It's bloody, it's accident. So for those who do not like that, who cannot handle it, I would suggest you to tell your teacher. All right. So while we wait to get the sound, now here's the thing. These are not alcohol impaired, but relate back to alcohol use. Say for example, speeding. You heard there, when you speed, you don't react fast enough to something, right? Oftentimes not, when police officers show us even an accident and alcohol was involved, usually speed was involved. Alcohol use. Alcohol impairs your judgment, impairs your decision making, affects your vision, affects your reaction time, affects your perception. You have that with speeding. Speeding which impairs your vision, impairs your reaction time, and you get a deadly combination, you get a lethal combination. So let's go ahead and move on to our next video.
Today's lady is the first one. She has a fun breakdown.
Quindi è solo già stato sempre che la musica più dinamica.
Really, so relax emotions.
So again, fine, they may not actually be fine. So, they get into a car, naturally, right? Alcohol impairedness impairs their judgment. They totally forget to put on their seatbelts. So they drive away. Driver and passenger are driving in the car, they crash the car straight into a tree. They're not wearing seatbelts. So you know what happens, right? They could die on impact. They could go through the windshield. They could do other things, right? If you're sitting in the back seat, if you are not wearing a seatbelt, upon impact, you're going to keep moving. You could be the bullet who kills everyone in the car, as seen in the video, right? Now here's the thing, seatbelt usage. Every time you get in the car, you should always use a seatbelt, because if you get into an accident, you're going to keep moving forward if you're not wearing a seatbelt. The reason for a seatbelt is it keeps you from moving, right? Same thing goes for anything loose, a loose object, your phone. If it's not tucked away in a purse, in your glove compartment, in a trunk, somewhere, whatever. Any loose objects in a crash, they will become weapons. Your cell phone could end up being a bullet that kills you, right? So always wear a seatbelt. So our last video.
Shall I tell you there's no one I'd rather be.
Here's the thing. Alcohol use. This whole entire accident could have been 100% prevented. After drinking, he could have stayed at the bar, waited sober up, could have called a taxi cab home, could have called a friend to come pick him up, right? He had all these options of getting home safely rather than getting behind the wheel and driving. What he doesn't know is any amount of alcohol, whether it's a little or a lot, is going to impair your brain in some way. When he left the bar, his friends were probably like, hey, are you okay to drive home? And he's like, yeah, I feel fine. I don't feel drunk. I don't feel buzzed. That's the most dangerous thing you can say after drinking, is I feel fine. Because yeah, sure, you may feel okay. Doesn't mean you are. Doesn't mean your brain isn't affected by the alcohol. So unfortunately, he didn't make it home safely. He killed someone on the way. Imagine that on your conscience. Imagine that you could have stayed at the bar, waiting to sober up, but instead you decided to leave, right? You decided to drive and kill someone, or you injure someone. So, my question to you is, drinking driving worth it? In 2011, 6,507 people involved in alcohol-related crashes, and they're considered drunk drivers with a blood alcohol concentration of 0.08 or higher. Also, in 2011, 9,878 people involved in alcohol-related crashes. That's an alcohol-related fatality every 53 minutes. Now, there's been a newer study. In 2012, this number rose to 10,500. So it keeps rising. Unless people are safer, it's going to keep going up, right? Now, what is that? Blood alcohol concentration is the amount of alcohol in a given volume of blood. You hear it all the time. Back levels, right? So let's look at our chart. We have a chart of blood alcohol concentrations. We have body weight on the side. We have amount of drinks on the top, hours, right? So in each hour, a drink is consumed. So this chart can change based on food, it can change based on medication taken, but it stays around the same. Blood alcohol concentrations stay the same. Now, if you look, the red numbers indicate textbook definition of impairment. The moment your brain is impaired, the moment you are affected. So, now look at the consequences. In the state of Virginia, if you are under 21, zero tolerance. If you are caught drinking driving, there's a fine, suspension of license. And you can also, it's considered a class 1 misdemeanor. So a lot of community service also. If you're caught possessing, consuming, transporting, purchasing, basically fines, sanction, revoking of license. If you are caught with fake IDs, fines, sanctions, revoking license, you can go to jail possibly for up to a year. Now, adults or parents who aid minors in getting alcohol, they face high fines. They face a fine from $250 to about $500. Revoking license, driver's license suspension. It's very costly for the adult who aids minor in getting alcohol. Now you see, in DC, Maryland, Virginia, in the DC metropolitan area, DC $300 fine, plus suspended license. Maryland, first offense, $2,500 right off the bat. Your parents or your whatever adult figures, they do it again, $5,000 for the second time. Virginia, you get fines, revoking license, driver license suspension. Now, here's the thing. Someone gives you a fine, $500, probably going to pay it off. But say you don't want to. Say you want to get an attorney. Attorney's going to cost you thousands and thousands of dollars more. Car insurance goes up for those of you guys who can drive. Car insurance for a young driver is expensive. Imagine if you're paying for it, your parents are paying for it. It goes up. Fine, lost days of school to work. That's time you can't get back. That's time wasted, time lost. Towing, court costs, bonds. How much does that up to? Around $5,000 to $20,000. Now imagine if you're paying for this. Imagine your parents are paying for this. It's a lot of money to shell out at once, right? Imagine, you can buy a lot of things. You can go to school. For example, 2-year tuition at Maryland, I paid $20,000. It's a lot of money, right? So for this amount of money, you can go to school. For this amount of money, you can get a car. For this amount of money, you can get a lot of nice, shiny, fancy things, right? So you know how much you guys like that. But just imagine, $20,000 out of your pocket. You're gonna have to work. You're gonna have to get a job. You're gonna have to pay it off. Now, it's not just about the money though. You get caught with a DUI, driving under the influence, DWI, driving while intoxicated. That stays on your record forever. It does not go anywhere. Applying for a job in college is more difficult. Car insurance goes up. Social embarrassment. But basically this, take-home message. If you're at a party, if you're out with friends, you don't need to drink or do drugs to have fun, right? There are other healthy alternative things to do. Go to the movies, go outside, go play a game of basketball. I don't care what you do. It doesn't have to involve drugs or alcohol. But if you decide never ever in your life to drink, whether it be for cultural reasons, personal reasons, or religious reasons, that's absolutely fantastic. But if you decide to drink for any reason, do so legally, so 21 and older, and do so responsibly, as you saw there. Even as an adult, you can still screw up. Drinking, driving, it affects not only you, but others. So, always stay responsible. Are there any questions? Comments? All right, that is my presentation. Thank you.
I'm Detective Keeble with Fairfax County Police Crash Reconstruction, and we have 5 detectives in Fairfax County that do nothing but fatal and near-fatal accidents. I want to talk to you this morning and just give you some information. I'm not going to lecture you or tell you what to do because you're going to do what you want to do, right? Yes? Sure you are. I'm just going to try and give you some information that will help you make a more informed choice. And then I'm going to talk to you about some recent trends we've seen in crashes in Fairfax County. Anybody care to hazard a guess as to how many fatal accidents we have every year in the county? 1,000. Oh my God, we need more than 5 people. How many? The question is, how many fatal accidents do you think we have every year in Fairfax County? We have about 64 a year. We get called out. Over 9,000. We need more than 5 people. All right. We get at least 1 a week in Fairfax County. That's a lot. And we get called out about once every 3 days. And those are the people that live. We're not really sure what, sometimes it's brain damage, but they survive it. You guys are in high school, and by the way, congratulations for getting out. You're all right now, your life is full of restrictions. People tell you where to go, when to do things, what to eat, where you have to be. They're controlling your money. You have very little control. But you're right on the cusp of the point where you're going to have a lot of control. You're going to be the one making decisions. You're going to decide where you live, what you do with your money, how you spend your time, how late you can stay out, everything. Your future is right in front of you. And what I'd like to see you do is actually make it to the future. Getting at high school was so-so for me, but getting out was great. So your future is going to be fantastic. Unfortunately, not everybody makes it to the future. This is a crash I worked a few hours before Christmas Eve, 2003. There are 9 people in that car. The driver is still in there, or he's under the sheet. There was a girl sitting on the stick shift, a girl in the right front seat, 3 guys on the back. Oh, trust me, she had some pretty horrible injuries. You can pretty much imagine what they were. It was bad because of the stick shift. 3 guys in the back seat and a girl on each of their laps. Hey now. Well, nothing went on that night because, as you can see, they didn't make it to their destination. Have you ever seen a car in and out of traffic? Yes? Lane to lane? Well, think about how much weight they have in that car shifting, come on guys, shifting from side to side as he's going from lane to lane. And as you can see from the picture, the roads are wet. Well, his tires only have a certain amount of friction. It's just a scientific fact. There's only so much gripability those tires have on a wet road. And as he's moving side to side, the people in the car are moving side to side. And he just exceeded, scientifically, what the car and the tires could do for him. And his last move, the back end of the car kicked out, and now he's going counterclockwise through a median, and he presents himself sideways right in front of that Lexus. It killed the girl in the right front seat, the driver, and one of the girls in the back. It was Christmas Eve. And I remember these girls were all 17. And I remember looking at them. We have to process bodies. That's part of my job. I have to photograph, fingerprint, and document the injuries on a dead body. And I remember looking at these girls thinking, they did all the hard work to get this far. They were almost out of high school. They were almost done. They're never going to have their first apartment, their first car, their first career. They're never going to have a wedding day. They're never going to have a honeymoon. They're never going to have a beach house with friends. They're not going to have anything. They're not going to have kids, nothing. They did all the hard work to get to this point, and that was it. That's where it stopped. They never got to have all the fun. You guys are in high school, so I expect you to know Newton's first law of motion is a body in motion will continue on a straight line in that same speed, in that same direction, unless acted upon by an external force, and conversely, a body in motion or body at rest will stay at rest. This is something we hang our hats on in crash reconstruction. We look at dynamics. We look at the scientific aspect of a crash. Just like Ms. Wan said, when you're in an accident or when you're in a car, if the car is doing 55 miles an hour, you're doing 55 miles an hour, and your organs are doing 55 miles an hour. So when there's a sudden stop, that object to object, either you up against the car up against a telephone pole or into another pole or into a pedestrian, that's the first impact. What's the second impact, you think? The car's going along, the front end of the car stops because it's hit a pole. What's the next impact? You. The occupants of the vehicle versus the interior of the vehicle, whether that's your seat belt, a dashboard, the side of the car. What's the third impact? Your organs. Very good. Your organs coming into contact with your skeletal system. Normally, that's okay. Can you do 500 miles an hour to 0 and survive it? Yeah, you can. How? Slowly, very good. Think about it, in an airplane, you're doing 500 miles an hour. You very slowly descend and you come to 0. Do you all remember Dale Earnhardt?
Yeah.
Yes, some people do, thank goodness. Dale Earnhardt was arguably one of the best drivers ever to get behind the wheel of a car, but he died because of a car accident. He was doing about 200 miles an hour and very rapidly hit a wall and hit some other people in the crash on the racetrack. And I remember Darrell Waltrip was doing the emceeing of that crash or the race, and he said, "Oh, he slowed down way too quickly." And that's what caught my ear. And I started watching it. Sure enough, he was dead. He bled to death because as his internal organs slapped forward, he didn't slow down slowly. He slowed down too rapidly for his body to take it. Everything has a breaking point, including our bodies and our organs. And his organs slapped up against the interior of him. They started to rip and tear and bleed, and he bled to death. It can happen to anybody. People have been dying in car accidents since I was in high school, way back when. They always have. Sometimes you look at the person and go, yeah, that guy was a hot dog. You could always see it was going to happen. But for the most part, I've been doing this now for 14 years. I worked over 100 fatal accidents. Most people involved in fatal accidents are normal, law-abiding people. They did the same thing they've always been doing. It's just this time things got out of hand and they couldn't recover. And a friend of mine likes to say Isaac Newton was driving the car at that point because they're on their way and they have no control of the car at that point. Delta V is a change in velocity. If it's too rapid, the person dies. The internal organs start to rip. It's just you break. Internally, we just break. So Delta V is what killed him. This is a video. This is one of the ones he talked about being a little graphic. But it does really show that point. This is my favorite student from the Silver Car. Watch the line out of the car, see the direction the car is going in? The body is the same direction. Now he probably survived. He's wearing a full face helmet and he's got all the normal gear. So he's probably okay. Remember Princess Diana? How did she die? Very nice. She wasn't wearing a seatbelt. We know the crash was what we call survival. Some crashes are not survivable. If you see that tractor trailer coming in on your side, chances are you're not going to make it, just because of the amount of force and kinetic energy that tractor trailer is bringing. Her crash was survivable, though, because we know her bodyguard was wearing his seatbelt, and he's in front of her, and he takes more energy than she does in the back. The 3 people who died were not wearing their seatbelts. Guys, seriously? Okay, so she is in the back of the car, she's not wearing her seatbelt, and kinetic laws of motion, Newton's laws of motion, when the car starts to slow down, she goes forward. Her knees go down onto the bottom of the floorboard, and she goes forward, and she hits the back of the bodyguard's seat so hard, all of her organs are slapping forward, her head goes up, and she bleeds to death. The point I'm trying to make is she was a very nice lady. She did a lot for the world. It doesn't matter how nice you are, bad things happen to good people. She should have protected herself with a seatbelt. She'd still be here today if she had. People who die in car accidents aren't necessarily jerks or they're bad people. Things get out of hand and physics take over. It's just science, physiology. The body can only do so much. When I talk to people sometime after crashes, they say, you know, why did it have to happen to them, or why did this happen to me? And I think, why not you? We're not all walking around with a force field protecting us. We have to live within the world that we have, and the laws of physics apply here. So when you start thinking, when you're making decisions, and this deals with everything from your relationship with your friends, to your spouse, to your girlfriend, boyfriend, to money, start asking yourself, what's the worst thing that could happen? And is that worst thing an acceptable option? Is it an acceptable risk? If it's not, back away from it. Ladies, I'm here to tell you, I work with 1,500 men. Sorry, officer, but women are smarter than men. No question whatsoever. My husband, you know, I'm a state trooper, and he's like, I know you're smarter than I am. I just know it. I know you're smarter than I am. Well, it used to be, like I said, I'm going to talk to you about trends. Guys were always the ones dying in car accidents because they're aggressive drivers. It's just part of it. You know, men and women are different. They just have different psyches. Guys are aggressive drivers. Girls were more distracted drivers. Over the years, we have found that girls have become the new guys. Girls, that's not a good thing. Girls are now distracted, aggressive drivers. I don't know why. I don't know if they're just trying to keep up with the guys, but I'm like, don't do that. Don't do that, because we're seeing a massive increase in the number of young women getting killed in car accidents when they're the driver. And it's never been like that before. All right, this is Fairfax City. We're driving. That's a little bit wrong. Just finding it feels a right that he's going to make him put down a line so he can walk the line. Most people think that when someone gets killed in a drunk driving accident, and that's everybody, adults, everybody thinks, oh, the drunk driver got killed, they had to be wasted, absolutely bombed. But what we have found over the years by looking at people's blood alcohol concentration is they're kind of drunk and a half. They're not really that drunk. The real bad drunks are easy to spot. They're really easy to spot because they're really bombed. They know they're bombed, so they're going to be really careful driving home. So they're like, okay, I'm really bombed. I don't want to get caught by the police, so I'm going to just blend in with traffic. I'm going to do the speed limit. And you'll find them, and they're doing 25 miles an hour, and they're right on top of the steering wheel, but they're on 66. And what they didn't realize is there are 6 cop cars behind them with their blue lights on, just going, okay, I'm just waiting for this idiot to look in his rearview mirror. And if you know when they look in the rearview mirror, because the brakes come on right away. Those are easy to spot. The people that we have ending up involved in fatal accidents are the ones who just feel euphoric. They feel pretty good. I'm loose. I'm not drunk. They'll tell you I'm not drunk, but the numbers tell us that they are drunk. They feel good. They've forgotten how many drinks they had. They're really not that drunk. They just feel a little high. They feel good, but those are the ones that end up killing people. It's the ones who are really bombed, who are trying to make it home at 25 miles an hour that you don't have enough problem with. This accident occurred, this is Franconia Road, this is Franconia Road Post Office, and that's the car. You can see the tire marks. He slid sideways into the telephone pole. His best friend was found right here. He ended up being ejected out of the car and bouncing down and hitting these boxes right here. One of the trends we see in crashes is people have a tendency to kill someone they care about. whether it's the best friend or we've had several brother and sister or brother and brother kill each other. Think about it. Normally, you're in a car with somebody you know, and if it's a single car accident, unfortunately, we're seeing a lot of people killing their best friends. It's routine. This guy, he and his passenger had grown up together, and Miss Wan had that one video that showed, can you live with the guilt? How is this guy living with this? He killed his best friend. I have another guy that killed his brother. Oh, by the way, her videos that she showed, a lot of them are done in England. They're true stories. They're not faked. England does really, really good DWI ads. They're so graphic they won't show them here in the U.S. But if you look on YouTube, one is so graphic I can't even watch it because it shows people dealing with the crime families afterwards, and I've dealt with so many I can't even watch that. All right, drunk driving is the same as drug driving. Unfortunately, one of the things I want you guys to take away from here is you're not really my target audience. We're not really having a lot of problems with teens and driving, knock on wood, in Fairfax County. It's the 19 to 27-year-olds that we're having a lot of problems with. It's once people get out of high school and nobody's talking to them anymore and they've got money, and then they start doing things they're not supposed to. The guy who killed this woman was my age. I'm 51. He was stoned out of his mind on PCP. I mean, like 6 times the legal limit. I mean, it's just unbelievable how high this guy was. He and it's happened at 6 o'clock at night in August, a couple years ago. He's got a truck and he loses it. All the witnesses say he's flying up this road, he crosses the median and hits this poor woman. He continues slipping down, sideswipes that car, and he killed her instantly. And the car ends up down the road, his truck. His passenger dies right away. He's ejected out of the car. His truck rolls on top of him, and he kills his passenger. He died at the hospital. So 3 people died in this accident. I show this for a couple of reasons. The drug driving is the same thing as drug driving. Stay away from it. I know everyone tells you to stay away from drugs, but trust me, it's not going to do anything good for you. I have a sister who's a crack addict, and trust me, her life's a mess. But another reason I tell you this is this woman had a 16-year-old daughter and a 19-year-old son, and I was there when her husband told them that she had been killed in a car accident, and that was brutal. And I think that 16-year-old girl should still have her mom, and that boy should still have his mom. But when you go out and you go to college, or you're out, I don't know what you're going to do, go to college, get a job, whatever you're going to do, and you offer alcohol to someone and they say no, just let it go. Let it drop. Because you don't know what the person's past is. These kids will probably never drink after what happened to their mom. So if you offer it to somebody and they say no, let it go. You don't know if their children are alcoholics. You don't know what the past is. Just if they decline, let it go. All right, speed. I'm going to show this for 2 reasons. This does not happen in Fairfax County. I have this one on the internet. If you witness an accident, please stop. You'll see it here in a second. Don't ever try and go through a turnstile like this either. Watch traffic, keep going. Yeah, that was pretty bad, but I gotta go someplace. I can't tell you how many fatal accidents I've worked in Fairfax County where we know the roads were crowded with people. And people just watch it and go right past. Yep, gotta go someplace. If you can't stop, and sometimes we get people who can't stop, they're headed to the airport, they gotta go pick up their kids, whatever, just call it in so that we can call you later on, because it helps the family of the dead person or the person involved in the accident. If somebody blows a red light, and everybody thinks, and I'll show you one of those cases later, where everybody said, oh, of course the guy was going to tell the cops he blew the red light. He didn't tell us he blew the red light. So we had to go and find the witnesses to verify that, yes, this guy blew a red light. just call it in, call 911, I can't stop, but hey, I just saw an accident, blah, 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 here's my name and information. We'll call you later on. Have you ever been hill hopping? Do you know what hill hopping is?
Yeah.
Do you know what it is? Okay. It's when you get up to speed in a car, and invariably it's always like a minivan or a station wagon. And they get up to speed, they get on a road that's got a little hill on it, and you get air. You know? Yeah, oh yeah. You used to know what it was called. Now you know it's called hill hopping. Okay, we have a fair number of fails with hill hopping because when you get air and you come down, the tires have a tendency to catch the roadway and they'll go right or left, and it's a jerk, and people don't expect it to happen. These two cousins were hill hopping on this road. You can't see it barely, there's a little hill right there. They got up, that's about where their undercarriage came down. They jerked to the right, they started rolling off the road to the right, the guy steers away from the telephone pole, but he's going so fast, he's got enough kinetic energy to come around, hit this tree, and then spin around 180 degrees. Remember in this Swans video where it shows the guy roaming around the interior of the car and he's hitting people? These two kids are seatbelted in, but because the car is spinning, their heads slap together. They hit so hard, the right front passenger died right away. The driver, I don't know that he's ever woken up. I was checking on him a year later, he had yet to wake up from his coma. That's how bad it was. These two get my Idiot Award. I've been doing this for 14 years. Like I said, I've worked over 100 fatal accidents. Would you care to hazard a guess as to how long it was from the time this kid got a ticket for speeding to the time they had the accident? A year, 2 weeks? 5 minutes? 10 to 15 minutes. The officer was typing in the ticket when he hears the accident come down. And because I looked at the ticket and I went, there's no way. He was the first one to get to them. And he said the passenger was obviously dead. I'm not going to show you those photos, just nothing you can get out of that. He was obviously dead, and he had to walk through fight his way through all that brush. And he said, I'm screaming at the driver, and he goes, I assume he's dead, and then I just kind of do this to him. And his eyes like fluttered. But that's the most anybody's ever gotten out of him. He's never woken up. These two are cousins. They're within sight. The driver lives through the woods right there. The family had to move because the driver is now in a Baltimore hospital. So they had to pull their kids out of high school and move. And can you imagine what that has done to the family relationship? One cousin kills another cousin. It was some of the worst death notifications I've ever had. How do you avoid overcorrecting? Off the gas, off the brake, no death grip on the steering wheel. Look forward, look where you want to go, not look at the telephone pole, because when you look at the telephone pole, you hit the telephone pole. Look for an opportunity to get back on the road. Don't panic, because when a wheel goes off the road, you're going to hear this, and you're going to think, oh my God, I'm going to lose a tire. Lose a tire. So many people, I live out in Loudon, Route 15 is famous for people going off the road, yanking the wheel back to the left, which is exactly what that kid did when he was overcorrecting. The kid, we were just talking about the two cousins. He saw that telephone pole, and he yanked that wheel to the left, and it shot him across the road. So look for an opportunity to get on the road, back on the road. The car will automatically slow down. Gently urge the car back on the road, and then pull over when you can to assess the damage. It happens. You get a flat, you get a flat. Like I know you're going to get flats when you're driving. Red lights. These are some of the trends we're seeing. When I first started in this job, If you had a fatal accident, it was because a drunk driver killed somebody in the middle of the night. It was always in the middle of the night, and it was always a drunk driver. But what we're finding is we are getting daylight accidents that have nothing to do with alcohol, nothing at all. We're finding a large number of red light accidents. Like I said, if you are witnessing an accident, go ahead and let us know about it. Do you know what an au pair is? It's a young lady that comes from another country, and she babysits. This young lady driving in the station wagon was an au pair. She was stone cold sober, not doing anything wrong, except she did what I see a lot of. I used to work midnights. I worked 11 years on midnights. I always saw so many people come up to a red light in the middle of the night, look both ways, and go through it. And they'd say, well, nobody's coming. I'm like, I'm in a marked police car. I was coming down the road. What are you looking at that you don't, I mean, let's face it. Anybody here got a driver's license? We all know what cop cars' headlights look like, don't we? Everybody, they may be able to teach that in driver's ed. You all know how to spot the cop car. If you come up to a light in the middle of the night, the most modern traffic lights know, they understand there's a big silver box on the side of the intersection that tells it it's the middle of the night, change quickly. So if you come up to a red light in the middle of the night, give it a couple seconds, it'll change. It'll change quicker than normal because it realizes this is the middle of the night, nobody's out here. This young lady, unfortunately, did not do that. She tried to, this is Stringfellow Road and this is Route 50. This is Stringfellow Road here. She tries to make it across all the lanes. And as you can see, this is the impact area. What she didn't see was this car coming down the road. Had a green light, and she pulled right out in front of it. She lasted a few hours and then died. And it was horrible for her family. She's from Germany. Her family had to come over and retrieve her body. The reason I'm showing you this is, obviously we know not to run red lights, but don't come up to a red light, stop, and think, oh, nobody sees this, I'm just going to go through. Because you don't know what's coming down the road. Everybody claims they're so observant, but I'm like, I can't tell you how many tickets I've written to people who couldn't see the marked police car coming down the road. This one was a real heartbreaker. This is an ambulance driver. It's a professional ambulance. And the young lady driving this was pregnant. Pregnant with twins, 8 months. The guy driving the ambulance was a really nice guy. Like I said, a lot of people involved in fatal accidents, they just make a mistake and things got out of hand. She's coming out of Tyson's Corner. This is Route 123. She's the second car coming through on the green light, so it's been green. And there's a delay on that light. This guy's looking at his GPS and never sees the light at all. This is the one where a lot of people saw it, and they all just assumed he's an ambulance driver. Of course he's going to tell people he ran red light. He never even saw the signal. And hit her. It's amazing she survived. And I didn't realize she was pregnant with twins. One was in a pelvic girdle, and one sits on top. I didn't realize that's how twins came. Her pelvic girdle was broken into 5 separate pieces, and they had to screw it back together. Both babies were born that night. The one in the pelvic girdle never really woke up, and they took him off life support. The other baby, from what I understand, is doing fine. This guy, when he was convicted, broke down crying and said, I'm an ambulance driver. I never meant to hurt anybody. I didn't take this job to kill somebody. But his inattention cost the baby its life, and almost cost 2 babies and life. He was a nice guy, but he will pay for this for the rest of his life because he was looking at his GPS. They're going to another call. Not like some siren, they're just going to pick somebody up. Nice people cause horrible accidents. You've got to pay attention. Let's face it, I have one of these. I have a tendency to rip it out of my husband's hand because he's always trying to do this while driving, and I'm like, okay, if you survive the accident, I will kill you before rescue gets here. Because you're doing what I tell you not to do. And it's hard. I understand it's hard. Pull over or just lay it down and go, I can't touch it. Because it can have catastrophic consequences. All right. Another thing about red lights. We had a wreck. Some of these wrecks are so new, I can't show you photographs. So I'm just going to tell you the story. Because they're probably still going through civil court. We had a young lady. She's 16 years old. She was on Route 28. She was trying to cross Route 28 at Old Cinema Road. And her mom is a Fairfax County school bus driver. And she told her, when you get a green light, don't jump the light. You know, get the green light, boom, you're on gas, you're going. She said, hesitate, because the mother of the school bus driver has seen so many people run red lights. So the girl's broad daylight, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, beautiful sunny day, nobody's drinking. She gets the green light, there's another Fairfax County employee behind her, and she hesitates, because that's what her mother has told her to do. It's a good thing, because that saved her life and her best friend's life sitting right next to her. There you go. She hesitated. So she starts into the intersection and she caught the truck coming out of the corner of her eye. And this guy comes, he shears off the front bumper of the car. That's how close it is to her. He shears it off, his car starts to rotate clockwise. It's a big truck, and higher center of gravity, he starts to rotate like that, he's flipping over. He's not wearing a seatbelt. And he comes out to the windshield. And that poor girl has to live with that. She didn't do anything wrong, but she saw him laying on the pavement. Her hesitation saved her life. I mean, we've all been around here. We have horrible drivers in this area. People drive in this area like they're actually trying to kill you. So, seriously, people are really. And there are a lot of people out here who probably should be on medication if you're getting my drift. And they're driving. So drive defensively. Don't jump the light. Give it a second. We got a lot of people blowing red lights. This is a kid who's doing nothing wrong. He's in that car. You go ahead and read what happened to him. Traumatic brain injury is something I didn't know anything about until I started doing this job. And you know, when I was your age, I was like, no problem. I'm pretty independent. And I was like, you know what, if I get killed, it's on me. It's just on me. It doesn't affect anybody else, which I've learned isn't true. We have friends, we have family, people are going to miss us. But the problem is, what if you survive the car accident? This young man wasn't doing anything wrong. He was hit by a guy who was 43, crossing on a hill crest over a double yellow line. And that Jeep drove right up the side, his driver's side. His brain was so badly damaged, they kept looking at me going, he'll be dead in a minute. You just want to stay and tell the family? I'm like, you can do that. And I would go back every day at the hospital and, is he dead yet? Is he dead yet? Because we have to file paperwork when someone dies. We have to know when they die. So I went in one day, and he's laying there in ICU, and he has what appears to be a mushroom coming out of his forehead. When the brain is really badly injured, it has a tendency to heat and expand. And this is routine. They will take off the front part of your skull to allow the brain to come out. And the doctors begged his parents to take him off life support because they said he has no quality of life. And he was their only son. They kept him on life support. I think he's still alive today. I don't know. But he's still in the wheelchair. He's still very, very badly brain damaged. But this is a list of things that happened to him. The brain was so screwed up, he grew breasts large enough that they had to do, and he's a boy, they did breast reduction surgery. His calf muscle was replaced by bone. I didn't even know the body could do that, but apparently it can. When I went to see him, he was curled up in his wheelchair, and he was crying, and he had big mitts on his hand, and I looked at the mother and I go, that's just the mitts. He thinks his rear end itches, so he scratched it so much he dug a hole in it, and they had to put mitts on his hand. And I thought, God, why didn't you take this kid off life support? But I don't have a kid, it's their only child, they hope things would get better. Eventually his body will just give up, because his body's trying so hard to keep him alive. It'll go for probably 10 years, and then it'll just say, that's it, I can't do it anymore. So, dying may not be the worst thing. Try and keep yourself safe, wear your seatbelt, drive defensively, and distractions. We're all seeing distractions every day. Every day on my way to work at 267, I see at least one businessman or woman doing this while they're driving. And I have the luxury right now, rolling down my window, hitting my lights and siren. Don't do that. It's not just you, it's everybody's doing this garbage. And it's causing a lot of fatal accidents. This guy was not on the phone, he was daydreaming. This is a fast train truck, bus. This is Fort Belvoir, this is Route 1, this is Fort Belvoir. This poor guy just stopped in traffic when at full speed, 55 miles an hour, that fast tram bus slammed into the back of him and just started a chain reaction. The guy wasn't on his phone, but he was just daydreaming. You've got to pay attention when driving, at least part of the time. Pay attention. These are cases I can't tell you, I can tell you about, but I can't show you pictures because they're too new. We had a woman who's my age, crossing Gallows Road in the dark, wearing black on a rainy night, and she has her hood up, and she's on her cell phone. She came out in front of a herd of cars, and she got hit by 2 of them, killed her. What could she have done differently? Put the hood down, take the hood away. Hang on, I'm crossing the road, give me a second. Oh, the people on the phone heard her get hit. We've had that happen a couple times, where the person on the phone hears them have the accident. You should put your hood down so you can actually see traffic coming, so your hair gets wet. Put the cell phone down, and also right up the street are the push buttons to stop traffic. She passed everything, didn't do any of it. We had a very nice young man, he's 21 years old, hit a bicyclist. He did what a lot of us do. And he told me, I was looking for a car. I was looking for a bicycle. He's on Lewinsville Road, and he's turning into his subdivision. He comes up, bright sunny day, 5 o'clock at night, and he said, I'm looking for a car. What he doesn't see is the bicyclist coming up the road. And he turned and he hit the guy. Luckily, the guy survived. But this kid was a mess. I mean, he was a mess on the scene. I've had a grandmother, unfortunately. We learned that she was coming off 395. She was going up toward a light at the end of the ramp. She's turning to give a juice box to her grandson and goes right through the light, and there's a dump truck coming through on the green. How that boy survived with just a cut, I don't know, because he got hit right on his side. But the boy survived, the grandmother died. All different ages, all different types of distractions. It's happening a lot. People aren't paying attention. We're seeing a lot of fatal accidents as a result. On bright sunny days, no alcohol involved. So we're seeing a trend from alcohol to no alcohol, just distractions. This is what I call don't do that. We've all done this. Anybody who drives, even when the judge sentences the school bus driver, and I blacked out the name, but you can pretty much tell what jurisdiction that's in. She, very nice lady, no points on her license, great employee. She's got her kids on the bus. This is Gallows Road in Columbia Pike, and she's just yielding. She's got the yield sign. She's just going to yield and take a right on red. Woman behind her sees the old man starting to go out on the road. But she does what a lot of people do, myself included, until I had this accident. She's looking. Okay, traffic cleared. She gets on the gas, looks forward, and sees the guy's head right in front of her. She hits him, just bumps him, because she is on the brakes as hard as she can possibly do. But he's 89 years old. Old people die really easily. All you have to do is go. He was talking on the scene. By the time and this is Gallows Road, they're just bringing him up to Fairfax Hospital. By the time they wheeled him into the ER, the doctor looked at him, looked at the officer, and goes, he's going to be dead within 5 hours. Because they could already see his pupils were screwed up, and he said his brain swelling. Sure enough, he died that night. I had to charge that poor school bus driver. The judge looked at her and said, we've all done this. I've done this. He goes, but you're wrong in doing that. You have to look forward before you hit the gas. I see it all the time. What we see more often, though, and what you're probably going to be involved in if you have one of these, is you're going to hit the car in front of you. You're going to assume that car's already gone, it's traffic cleared, and they're still waiting, and you hit the gas, boom, you hit the back end of that car. The McLean pedestrian is, again, too new. I can't show you photos. But this guy, nice guy, he's at a light coming out of the shopping center in McLean. And he gets the green ball. The people on the opposite side get the green ball, but they hesitate. So he goes, I'm just going to go out in front of them and take a left. Because he's busy looking at them, he doesn't see the old lady crossing in the crosswalk. Hit her and killed her quick. Nice guy, did something a lot of people do, and like I said, you can do this a lot of times, and it's okay, nothing goes wrong, but you've always got that option, that it could be catastrophic. This guy said, I have financial problems, and I'm thinking, dude, if you thought you had financial problems before you killed this old lady, you just lost everything, because the lawsuit will take everything. 5 more minutes. Pedestrian, true or false? Pedestrians always have the right of way. False. Pedestrians do not always have the right of way. The code in Virginia allows for pedestrians and cars both have rights, but they also have responsibilities. In certain instances, the pedestrian does not have the right of way. More often than not, the pedestrian does not have the right of way. So don't go bolting out in front of a car going, hey, I got the right of way, they can stop. Because you know what that driver's probably doing? They're on their cell phone. Because they're no intention. A pedestrian has to wait for you to complete your turn. So you're the driver, you're turning, you see the pedestrian. Do they have to wait for you to make your turn before they cross the street?
Yes.
False. You have to wait for them. State code says you, as the driver, must allow the pedestrian to cross if they're crossing at an intersection. All turning vehicles have got to turn, have got to wait. Pedestrian has to be in the crosswalk to have the right of way. False. There aren't that many crosswalks out there. Even a lot of intersections just don't have crosswalks. They're not painted lines. But at an intersection, the pedestrian may have the right of way if generally, if you're 35 miles an hour speed limit or below, the pedestrian generally has the right of way. So if you see somebody coming out and they look like they're ready to cross, you should stop for them. Over 35 miles an hour, like on Route 1, oh my God, we had so many drunks walking out in front of cars. 45 miles an hour, you as a car have the right of way, unless you're turning. Nothing but nothing, and the state code actually says this, allows a pedestrian to just walk out in front of a car. Look for eye contact. If you're going to cross the road and you see somebody, look for eye contact with that driver. If you don't see eye contact, right away or not, pull back, because that person's not paying attention. You as a pedestrian, you have everything to lose in that case. You're going to be the one losing. Congratulations on graduating. I hope you all make it. I hope you all have a wonderful life.